Post gives further details about the meeting. 2 Israeli police officers have been killed in an attack in the old city of Jerusalem. They were killed by 3 Israeli Arab men who were then shot dead by security forces. And North Korea has threatened to take corresponding measures if the UN Security Council imposes further sanctions.
It's 12:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Our Thoughts on the Matter, a program offering opinions from all sides of the issues concerning local, state, and national topics of importance to the Jonesboro community. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters, donors, or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you. Well, it's actually afternoon. Good afternoon to you on your Saturday. It's July 15th, 2017. This is Our Thoughts on the Matter, and we don't have too much of a crew here today, but we're going to make do with what we have. We have Mrs. Amanda Donovan and Mr. Brad Dow. The rest of our panel could not join us today, but we're going to sit here and we're just going to talk. And it's kind of a anything goes kind of show. Pretty much anything that comes to mind we're going to talk about as far as going on locally. And of course, if you have something that you want to talk about or want us to talk about, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can also leave your questions and your comments in our Facebook live stream. So panel, what's on your mind?
I will say, I have noticed that we've had a lot of progress on the road construction around town. I know that's been bothering a lot of folks for a few weeks.
Brad, come a little closer to the mic.
Am I? Yeah, here I am. I've noticed that, we've made a lot of progress on the road construction around town this week.
That's right.
It has been bumper to bumper in a lot of places.
A lot of signals.
Everywhere I turn, everywhere I look,
one.
somebody is frustrated and mad about the road construction. But I will tell you, I drove on Highland last night. It's like riding on glass. It's amazing. So.
Well, and speaking of that, one of the things is, when they had the tragic accident at the Harrisburg Road overpass, that has been completely reopened. And when it first happened, they were saying, well, it's going to be months before it get repaired. And then right after that, they said, well, we got one lane open and now it's fully open. And you actually drive under it, that section in which the truck had hit, it looks like it's pretty much repaired. I mean, you still got the burn marks from the fire. I guess they have to, find something to clean that off in there.
Yeah,
but it's
kudos to the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department, them, and working with the city, and I guess potentially the county on that too. I mean, great job. I mean,
we all worked together and got it done safe and secure and as fast as possible. And let's talk about Speedy Gonzalez there.
I would think many of the listeners would definitely agree that is one of the most highly driven, most congested traffic in the city on most days. So I imagine everybody is extremely thankful that is back underway.
Well, absolutely. And we do have one comment on our Facebook live stream. Quabila says, good afternoon, everyone. And she wants to know, can you give the thoughts on the SNAP proposal? Even though it may not come to pass, there could be changes made to the program. Well, Quabila actually has sent the link in our little text thread. So let me pull that up to kind of give the background. And we will happily talk about it. And of course, if you got something that you want to talk about, you can weigh in on our Facebook live stream, or you can also give us a call at 870-277-1080. And the article that she references, it's from modernfarmer.com/2017/Trump-SNAP-benefit-cuts. So an article says, how would Trump's food stamp cuts hurt Americans? Let us count the ways. And since President Donald Trump has proposed deep cuts to funding for the USDA Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly referred to as food stamps, the administration's fiscal year 2018 budget seeks a $193.3 billion decrease in SNAP funding over the next decade, a nearly 30% reduction over current levels. Such deep cuts have virtually no chance of gaining congressional approval, but they lay bare the president's approach to our nation's security net, who stands to lose. The 42 million Americans, 13% of the population, who currently receive SNAP benefits, which include low-income families, the elderly, people with disabilities, and those who have lost a job, are the most obvious. They receive an average of about $4.13 per day, or $1.39 per meal. But Public welfare is only part of the picture. SNAP plays a role in the broader economy, providing an expanded customer base to grocers and farmers, for example. It is also a safety net that keeps people off the streets, out of hospitals, and away from illicit activity. When money for food is a constant concern for millions of people, taxpayers ultimately foot the bill for the associated increase in healthcare costs, homeless shelters, and incarceration. Here's who's going to feel the hurt. I'm just going to list them. I'm not going to read the entire thing on each one of these, but it lists kids, number 1, 2, minorities, 3, the elderly, 4, disabled people, 5, people looking for jobs, 6, the working poor, 7, local legislators, 8, farmers and grocers, 9, farm workers, 10, Trump voters, and that is the list. So, all right, guys and gals, what do you think?
Well, kind of going through it, it reads that it's a projected cut over a 10 to 12 year period. An estimate, it's the way it reads is that's about a 10 to 20% cut of the current program. It is interesting to note that the U.S. government does fund 100% of the SNAP program. There is no money coming from anywhere else, meaning AKA your tax dollars pay 100% of it. So
My biggest concern is the children.
right.
And my theory is if we can supply help to countries across this world, they're struggling children. There's 1 in 6 children who suffer in this country due to hunger.
Yeah.
That number's going to go up if that's not if that passes. Now, I do agree the SNAP program itself and a couple of the DHSs probably does need some reform, needs to be more checked into on certain things. But ultimately, it comes down to, the elderly worked and paid their taxes. They're not able to work no more. What you receive on Social Security, you cannot live on, much less by, after you pay rent. I know a few people who get like $600-700 a month. You couldn't pay for rent.
Not probably in a decent place.
Right.
Yeah.
Your medicine, that's another one. One of my grandmother's medications is over $400, and that's her heart pill.
Well, SNAP doesn't cover medication.
I know, but you just start adding up how these people are gonna afford to eat.
I guess one interesting thing to read in the article here that was given to us is even though there's a proposed cut in funding, there is a proposed fee for commercial, businesses to actually pay to be able to accept SNAP money. So potentially the money that's being offset in a cut or being added in a cut could be offset by the fees that commercial entities would have to pay to be enlisted in the program.
And then you're looking at commercial people saying we ain't gonna pay for that.
Well, you'll have major retailers and things like that absolutely cannot cut that out if that were proposed. But again, I think this is all just a proposal. So I mean, it is an interesting way to look at it. I think the headline says cut, but there's also a part in it that proposes that businesses have to actually pay to be able to accept SNAP benefit. Because if you think about it, it's just your commercial entities are strictly profiting off of the taxpayer money at that point. With so it's just free money in their pocket and their bottom line.
Now,
Plus, if you have a store like Walmart, because what they say, you come in Walmart looking to get 1 or 2 items and you walk out with a basket full. So
guilty.
So someone that's gonna probably do their grocery shopping at Walmart, even if it would cost Walmart as a corporation more money in paying these fees, it's probably not going to have that big of an effect on their bottom line, because those people, probably still will, buy other non-food items while they're in the store.
Right.
But
So
what about the small mom and pop shops is my question. The local grocery stores.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the point of that. There are also industries, or I say industries, there are businesses out there that, you might drive around town, you see a hair salon that says now accepting EBT. Just as an example, I'm just throwing it out there. It's like, how is that money that's being used to go towards something like that? So, there, like I said, there probably needs to be some reform to this, but I think I don't know. I've never been on this, so it's hard for me to truly relate, but I think the interesting thing, again, about the article is the article headline said a cut, but there's also other parts within that article that talks about how that offsetting funding is going to occur.
All right, well, Quabila has some. Oh no, this is Shanquetta. I'm sorry, I got Shanquetta and Quabila mixed up, and hopefully Shanquetta should be back with us next week. I know she is out of state, so we hope that she has safe travels. Shanquetta says it is not only about receiving benefits, but the access. It is a holistic system that many lawmakers are not familiar with. AR still has a food desert when we have many recipients on SNAP abuse. Oh, hold up, and my Facebook app crashed, so let me get back to that. AR still has a food desert when we have many recipients on SNAP. Abuse is prevalent from the high end to the low end. We need practical and realistic reform from leaders to understand. And then Quabila follows up with, so if the business has to, Facebook crashed again. Welcome to technology. So if the business has to, pay to accept, will they find a way to shift that cost back to the consumer?
Ultimately, that's what happens in business when you're dealing with major companies, profit, loss, and profit.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know how to answer that, honestly. I mean, it's an article that says a proposed cut without really any more detail than really what's there. So I don't know if any of us here can make a reasonable answer to that, but more than likely.
One question that could be proposed is, I mean, are the cuts really necessary? Because one of the things that people tend to want to go after is programs that affect the social safety net. Not saying that there may not need to be, like, far as fraud and waste and the bureaucracy of it itself, but when compared to the overall size of the federal budget, these programs are very, very small, and there are other things in which cuts could be made in order to bring down government spending.
I would 100% agree. I mean, there is tons and tons of government spending and frivolous money that goes out the window. You can almost relate it to, if you have to get work done on your car, you got to take it to a shop and you're going to get ridiculous prices because they're insurance prices. Well, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, the government, there's always the old joke, we didn't spend $600 on a hammer. Yeah.
And one example is to talk about, obviously one of the largest parts of our budget is defense, and that's, that's considered the sacred cow that nobody wants to cut it. But, and sometimes there's even people in the Defense Department, like, for example, certain weapon systems and things that they say, well, we don't need this. But, because of a particular representative or senator, their state is making this thing, they want to make sure that it gets done so that the money gets brought home to their state and they can stay in power, even though, the people in the Pentagon have said, well, we don't really need this $1 billion weapon system.
Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about that, you've got the now I'm going blank on the call number, but the Joint Strike Fighter that's supposed to be used across multiple branches of the military. It's a multi-billion-dollar project that's been going on for over 10 years, and it's still not functional, and it actually is no better than anything that we have now. It's kind of like the A-10, they were going to scrap that, and now it's going on for another 15 years because it's there, it's proven, but what's out there is a waste. But people talk about defense, and everybody wants to cut money from defense, but when you need it, everybody's like, well, why don't we have it? So
my question is, let's look at what we're buying.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really cut the cost. It's really, let's look at what these people are actually buying and spending on their budget. I mean, it's crazy numbers. Like you said, the $600 hammer, I mean, I know it's a joke, but, it's probably true.
You can go to any hardware store or get a hammer for
exactly
$2.
What you're saying, it's interesting.
I mean, a hammer's going to just hit a nail.
The topics you're bringing up, I mean, those are actually, believe it or not, very conservative thought processes of, can we streamline what we spend? Can we fix what we have versus just throwing all brand new at it? So,
well, and I think,
reuse what you have.
And I think the thing is, it's not even an attack against conservatism. I mean, it makes good sense, to look at, what can be cut out. But I think sometimes in our country, you have some people who want to cut things that target the least of us when we can be looking at things that could, affect others.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just a form of triage when you really think about it.
Well, instead of cutting where we probably need to, we're cutting, like, You know, we're talking about Obamacare. You know, that's the health care. We're talking about SNAP. We're talking about our national parks. We're talking about broadcasting, including, you know, NPR and ATN, all those good places. I mean, yeah, when you go to the Dollar Tree, you spend $1 on 50 items. You know, it is $50. But some of this stuff, we need to be really careful on what we're messing with. So, and the SNAP, you know, like I said, right now, as it sits right now, 1 in 6 children go hungry in our country.
Yeah, so back to the original topic, you know, talking about SNAP. I mean, there are truly those out there that truly benefit from it, and they're the people that will be affected. And you know, I would hate to see that being pulled, because there are truly those that rely on it, need it, and that's how they get through life, and they truly do benefit from it. So, I mean, potentially there are ways to reform it and ways to streamline it to be a better working machine.
And of course, one thing with anything that you cut, whether it's SNAP or defense or any other program, people also have to look at the consequences of what happens. For example, we'll just go back to the SNAP. If some people's SNAP benefits are cut, you know, what are they going to do for food? You know, some people may starve, some people may get sick, and that's going to drive up healthcare. Some people may unfortunately turn to crime. You know, the stories of person going to the store stealing a loaf of bread because they didn't feel they had any other option. So whenever people propose things, you know, they have to think about
the food pantries. That's another one that's going to be affected.
You know, and it may be an interesting way to look at this, maybe just dawned on me, is, you know, I think we've all kind of been in the store before, and we see people that are using the benefits, and, you know, they get to the counter and shopping cart full of food. Just out of curiosity, I mean, how much of that food that is being paid for by the SNAP program ends up being wasted, though? I mean, maybe that is a potential reasoning for some of this. I mean, is there a way to cut out the waste and really just pay for what's needed? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, and
just out of curiosity.
Well, from the people that I've seen, they usually eat all that they buy. I mean, if there's waste, it's usually the people who are, you know, fraudulently selling their SNAP benefits. But if a person's actually using their benefits to buy food, it's usually going to be, you know, enough
in
to
certain
feed them.
things is off limits. You have to pay for that.
Right. I mean, it was just posing a question, because, I mean, I know even myself, I mean, I pay for everything I have, and I waste, and it's my money. So, you know, we always talk about how people end up wasting when somebody else is paying for it, because, you know, so I mean, that happens. That's just a question I thought about.
Yeah.
Once again, you're tuned to Our Thoughts on the Matter on KLK 102.5 FM. This is an open discussion, so you can comment with whatever that you want to talk about. If you got something or a topic that you want to talk about, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can also leave your questions and your comments on our Facebook live stream.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. I mean, believe it or not, we're kind of short on topics this week. We're sitting here thinking about what do we need to talk about. So we would love to hear from everybody out there. Don't be afraid to voice.
What is your thought on I can't talk this morning. Royal doctors. I seen a headline where people in Arizona, they're actually begging doctors to come up there due to not enough doctors being in the area.
So you're saying that there's a doctor shortage?
Right.
There's a lack of medical
professionals in rural areas.
In rural areas. Okay, I got you. So that's a rural.
I'm sorry. I can't
and it's actually kind of interesting, because that was one of the main reasons why the NYIT school was placed here at Arkansas State, in the hopes that some of the graduates of that program would then go out to some of the smaller communities surrounding Jonesboro and in the Delta region to practice medicine, to help fill the need for doctor shortages in the area. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference between doctors and general practitioners. I think that's more of what's being missed, just general practitioners all the way around. So yeah, you're right with the NYIT. I mean, it's when you really compare them side by side, they have the same training as typical, MDs, but the turnaround is quicker on the schooling, so that gets more people out in the workforce and out of the medical profession. So,
well, I know my primary care doctor who's pretty much treated me my whole life as a DO.
Mm-hmm. So, what are my thoughts on the lack of medical professionals?
Well,
yeah, I mean, you need them.
And maybe out in those rural areas, if there is a university nearby, maybe they could do like ASU did, partner with a medical school to set up a facility on their campus to try to train doctors, or maybe there might be some kind of incentives that the city could use to lure doctors. Maybe if you are graduate med school and you want to set up a practice, maybe some tax cut or some kind of benefit or something to help get you off the ground to launch your practice. Or maybe hospitals could offer some kind of incentive, some kind of recruiting incentive, maybe student loan forgiveness in exchange for come to certain areas.
And there's one thing to keep in mind is, you brought up Arizona. I mean, it is a very kind of sparse, widely desolate area, so the rural areas are extremely more spread out than how we would see them here in Arkansas. So
we actually here in Arkansas suffer from that too, but this article is from Arizona.
They probably see benefit of traveling doctors that maybe hit an area once or twice a week. So I think
we'll pick it back up after the break. This is Our Thoughts on the Matter. This is KLEK on 2.5 FM.
You're listening to Our Thoughts on the Matter on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jen with your KLEK Learn Spanish Minute. Spanish idioms are really, really interesting and just as weird as idioms are in English. Are you ready for this one,
Yes.
Cato? Okay. Ser pan comido.
Ser pan comido.
Yeah, ser pan comido. So basically that means it's a piece of cake.
A piece of cake, huh?
Yeah, that's what ser pan comido means. But a literal translation would be to be like eaten bread.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. So one more time, that's ser pan comido.
Ser pan comido.
Yeah, and in a sentence you could say like, oh, this is como pan comido.
Como pan comido.
Yeah, that's basically just saying it's a piece of cake.
Alrighty.
All right. I'm Jen, and that was your Learn Spanish Minute on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Tune in to Community Conversations every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. here on KLEK 102.5 FM. Join host Quabila Jones-Harden as she talks to people who are making a difference in the community and learn about the people and organizations that provide services to make Jonesboro a better place. Community Conversations every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Meineke of Jonesboro is now Starks Auto Service, a full-service auto repair and vehicle maintenance center offering engine and transmission repair, brake service, tires, oil changes, and more, performed by ASE certified mechanics. The all-new Starks Auto Service, 2813 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, 870-204-7112. Starks Auto Service, Jonesboro.com.
Did you know that KLEK 102.5 FM is a non-profit organization? Did you know that you can donate to KLEK 102.5 FM and your donation is tax deductible? Donations to non-profit organizations such as KLEK can reduce the amount of taxes you may owe the IRS or increase the amount of any potential tax refund. Support your KLEK today. You can donate by calling 870-277-1080, visiting our studio at 1411 Franklin Street in Jonesboro, or on our website www.klekfm.org. We at KLEK 102.5 FM are blessed and grateful for your support.
And Now back to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM. Kiddo Wonder is in the studio with you. I'm joined by Mrs. Amanda Donovan and Mr. Brad Dow. This is an open discussion. Anything that you want to talk about is fair game. You can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can also leave your questions and comments on our Facebook live stream. It looks like we've got a couple. Quabila says, as a way to help reform the program, do you feel that people who get X amount should be monitored for a period of time? Shout out to H2Q Barbecue for bringing the free food yesterday. Should be monitored for a period of time in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and whatever is not used within a month will eventually be deducted. And then she has another one, but it's a different topic. But we'll address that one, and then we'll get to her other question.
Talking about that on the break, I really don't think that's a bad idea. Any place to maybe potentially streamline the system would be helpful. Do that versus trying to cut things, because I think if you were to streamline inadvertently, you would probably realize that, there's potential ways to
Save it
balance, like, for lack of a term, balance a budget on it. But I think that's probably not a bad idea. If you've got X amount of people in a household on a certain amount of financial help, and there should be probably a common trend of the typical amount of spending, and if it's lower, or certain types of things are being purchased, there's probably good ways to do it. I think that would not be a bad idea. That's a pretty good suggestion.
When you start looking, though, are you invading their privacy is my question, because I'm really big about privacy.
I think that's a thin line, because at a certain point, you are providing assistance that they need. So
maybe you could provide, instead of people coming to their house, maybe they could just provide a sample of receipts of food that they buy. They just bring them to the office.
Well, I would be very surprised if, being how everything is electronic and database now, whenever they recognize that form of tender comes from the EBT or the SNAP program, that I imagine that those companies that are allowing it are able to provide that form of analysis and metric.
And of course, like Amanda says, there still could be some privacy issues come from that. But that's just with technology. As our technology evolves, we have to kind of evolve. Our laws, to catch up with them because of the issues that come with it. Yeah. But we're going to switch gears and get into Quabila's next question. She says, Representative Crawford is doing a STEM tour from July 17th through the 21st. How would you encourage more kids to look at STEM-related careers as an option? Should schools make these types of classes more part of the original curriculum, or leave them? And phone keeps crashing. And that may be why we don't have so many live viewers that we normally do. Probably keep crashing on everybody. Should schools make these types of classes more part of the original curriculum, lead them as electives? And I think that's an interesting question, because I know Brad does computer work, and Amanda, has been a nurse before. So both of you guys have been involved or currently involved in careers with STEM. So what do you think about that?
I'm actually all for STEM, and for most people that don't know what STEM is, it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Just people hear STEM and they probably don't really know what it is. But no, I'm all for it. It's another way to look at it. Back when you think of older days, you had the VOTEC, right, where people learned a specific skill or trade or things like that, or when I was in elementary school, they were called magnet schools, of course. So, and they all specialized in something. So I actually am all for it, because if we can teach children at a younger age a trade, or get their mind focused on something and find something they truly like, then it's just that much more benefit for the future. I really think. In
my opinion, I think a lot of children would benefit from this.
Right.
My children, we do maybe 1 or 2 a weekend. I'll do one with them, and my grandmother, of course, if I see something, like Rick Crawford did one, A-State did one not even a month ago, and that was pretty awesome. But, get them interested. Kids, they don't know what they want to do, and they just, they need activity, they need growth, they need stimulation. Why not teach them, science, technology, promote education and promote being smart, Well,
I think another benefit from this is there's been a mindset probably in the last 20, 30 years that, if maybe you're not smart, I mean, then don't take this the wrong way. Maybe you're not the brightest of person.
Don't have the highest grades to make the highest score on the SAT or ACT.
There was always either I'm not going anywhere or let me focus on athletics, right? Well, some people aren't athletically, gifted, but they have
that
a
would
mindset. And this could help again spark something that kids don't realize they maybe even had.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to add to the discussion is STEM is in just about everything these days. I've been to a couple of career days at various schools. I've been to one with West Side School District. I've been to one with Jonesboro Public School. I've been to one with Nettleton School District. And, one of the things that they ask me as well as the others that come out from the various jobs, talk about how STEM affects your career. And at these things, you have myself, a radio broadcaster, you have police officers, firefighters, doctors, even college professors, and in each one of these fields, there's some kind of way STEM is tied into it. Like we're here at the radio station, we're talking on technology. We've got microphones, we've got mixing boards. We're live streaming on computers.
Mathematics plays in onto it because of our time.
Just having people that know how to simply just hook it up and plug it in.
And and even though it's an older technology, but even radio broadcasting, basically taking an audio signal and converting it into an FM sine wave that goes across the air, and your radio receiver picks it up, takes that sine wave and converts it back to an audio signal in which you can actually hear. So just about anything that's out there, you can somehow tie it into STEM.
Like I said, I'm really an advocate of STEM. I like the path that it's going. Now, to tie back into one of our previous sessions, we talked about automation and basic fundamentals potentially going away. People learning trades that are really kind of falling to the wayside, and I think of things like a tailor or a cobbler, someone that works with shoes, things like that. You don't see that much anymore. I mean, there used to be
another one I hadn't
a
seen.
couple within a block of here. You had tailors and people that worked
Well,
with
this
shoes.
our form where you're sitting right now was a long time alteration shop. Wright's Alterations was in this building probably a good 20-30 years before the lady finally retired and then unfortunately passed away afterwards. So we're probably only the second tenant to ever be in this office.
So the reason I bring it up is we're, STEM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Well, would there be a way to integrate that into older professions,
with tailoring, you got to have measurement, which equals mathematics.
Right.
And if you're actually designing a dress or a suit, you need engineering.
Right. Well, again, I think when most people probably think of STEM, though, they think of, like you said,
but
electronics.
Well, I'm gonna give another example of how STEM can tie to the arts. You probably can't see it on our live stream, but there's actually a painting that I had commissioned. It's not the one of my mother's. It's the one of me as a sad clown.
Oh, it's over here.
And
I actually love
that painting. Actually, was done. The artist actually did that on an iPad.
Oh, that's really cool.
Basically, she has like some art software. She took a stylus and she basically drew it, and then basically when she finished it, basically emailed it to me, and I took it to the FedEx office and I printed a poster and hung it on the wall. So that's and somehow we picked up a hum somewhere. Oh, there we go. So see, there's STEM right there.
Yeah.
But that's just showing a way of how like the arts has incorporate STEM now, as opposed, and if you contrast it to the painting of my mother, it was actually painted in the traditional way, because I actually watched the artist as she do it. She had a canvas and she had paint brushes, and but both of them are still art, but one was done the traditional way and one was done totally electronically.
So again, one of the reasons I brought it up is because you think of some trades and professions like farming, road work, woodwork, and I mean there are tons of farms out there now that strictly run off of automated machines out there.
GPS.
Yeah, road work. So So yeah, I mean, I would love to see the integration of probably maybe a little bit more within the schooling of how to do these basic, more traditional, hands-on, you know.
I think one of the things that's going to definitely be required is an even greater knowledge of how to operate computers, because if you can't operate a computer, you're probably going to be lost in operating pretty much almost any piece of machinery.
Right. And, you know, and again with STEM, you know, so many things are digital now, but I really think that at some point there are going to be people that are going to be paid money hand over fist to be able to work on old analog items. And
it's interesting that you mentioned it, because one bit of analog audio technology that is making a major comeback is vinyl.
Yep.
You know,
Thank the Lord.
And it's funny because
all over that.
You know, they can't keep up with the demand, because once vinyl started going to cassettes and CDs, a lot of the old vinyl presses were junked, scrapped, and so now there's only like a handful left, and so now they're having to try to scramble to build new presses to make this vinyl. And it's not just, you know, DJs who use them to, you know, mix and scratch. It's, you know, audio enthusiasts, and of course there's even a big debate on, well, what actually sounds better, the old vinyl record versus, you know, the digital MP3 file.
I'm all about the popping, the LP.
Well, I have a soft spot for old school technology myself. I always said if I was a rich man, I'd probably have me a house with everything in there would be like 1970s and 80s technology.
So tube amplifiers and with Scala speakers.
But it's actually kind of, my very first sound system was a Davis tube amplifier, and it was a Jensen 15-inch woofer, and it actually had like a little horn in the middle of it that had the high end. And I would have my little Sony Walkman I plug into that Davis amp, and I play my MC Hammer tape.
Can't touch this.
Yep, can't touch this. And I'd blast that speaker in the neighborhood, and usually about 2 or 3 times a week, I get the cops called on me for playing the music too loud. Mom would say, "All right, turn that music down. I'm getting tired of these cops showing up and the neighbors complaining."
So do we know when when Rick Crawford's going to be doing the STEM program?
Let me go back to Kabila's comment. She did actually post the dates on it. It's July 17th through the 21st, so looks like it's gonna start Monday.
So pretty much all through Region 1, so the Delta all the way up to Northeast Arkansas.
I believe so.
Cool.
In fact, I could probably, I guess while you two talk, I could probably look up his website.
I'll tell you another thing I'd like to see the school system do. Now, the high schools are pretty good, and the counselors are pretty good about helping you find a college and what you need to do to get into college.
Yeah.
But it ain't very much talked about, and it was actually in the Jonesboro Sun where they actually did an article about this. But actually speaking to people about their majors, what can they do? What's the difference between criminal justice versus criminal investigation, or business administrative versus business, you know, the associate's degree, you know, what's the differences? And it would probably save a lot of people money, you know, because, you know, the first year of college, a lot of people's going back and change their mind.
So you're saying kind of like a preview of
what your major,
educational programs,
right,
and really what the end result would be. Yeah, you know, that's always something really good.
And I think you're kind of seeing a little bit of that with these career days that these schools are having, that myself and others around town have been invited to kind of show the kids the things. And they always ask for us to show examples. So one of the things that I do is we actually Facebook Live from the classroom, or we actually would do, I'll actually set up a little mini studio in the classroom and let the students actually broadcast live, and they give them the mic and they get to interview each other, and you know, and they can actually, like the very screen that you're looking at, you know, I get to I show them that screen and show them pretty much, you know, how the station operates. I did find the dates for the STEM thing. Monday, July 17th, look like it's going to be here in Jonesboro. It's going to kick off at Arkansas State at the Cooper Alumni Center, and then they're going to tour Camfield, Frito-Lay, Trinity Rail, and Hytro. Then Tuesday, they're going to be in Stone, Independence County. They're going to tour Fiber Energy Products and Future Fuel. Wednesday, July 19th, in Arkansas County, they're going to tour Cavu Aerospace, Lennox, and Riceland. And Thursday, July 20th, they're going to be in Greene, Randolph, and Lawrence County, and they're going to tour Tenneco, Monroe, Pocahontas Aluminum, and Custom Pack Incorporated. Friday, July 21st, Mississippi County, they're going to go to Nucor and Big River Steel. So they're going to be covering some pretty big industries around the area.
Yeah, you know, that's actually pretty interesting, because And not only are you...
And by the way, this is, if you want more information about this, it's at crawford.house.gov, and if you go to the homepage and you'll see it under the press releases.
I mean, that's really interesting to hear all of that, because it's great not only just to get people interested in the STEM program, but you're touring what is in your area, because I think that's one of the things that Arkansas at least faces, is that, you know, people get their higher education and they leave and they don't really stay in the state or their area. And there's a lot of industry in Northeast Arkansas that maybe people just don't realize.
There's actually more than what most people even know or even dream of.
Yeah, they drive by it every day and don't even realize it. Once again, you tune to our Thoughts on the Matter on KLK 102.5 FM. This is an open discussion. Anything that you want to talk about, well, feel free to talk about it. You can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can leave your comments and questions on our Facebook Live feed. Earlier in the show, you know, we talked about the highways and how the overpass was quickly repaired. Well, one of the things that KASU News broke was the highway department is looking at extending Commerce Drive from 555 all the way up to Highway 49 East Johnson. So they're just kind of saying there's something that we're thinking about, and there's supposed to be a public comment period coming soon in which people can weigh in and give their thoughts on it. And of course, I remember a while back I went to a Kiwanis meeting where there was someone from the highway department who had mentioned that one of the things that they were looking at is some kind of road that would connect 49 to 555 to help relieve traffic off Red Wolf and off Caraway.
Yeah, because you get a lot of 18-wheelers coming through, having to go, especially through the industry, industrial park and everything out there, but also going from I-555 up to, for example, Paragould, things like that. So yeah, you're right.
I think it'd be a good idea. It's just going to be like everything else dealing with infrastructure. You know, we need patience. Things ain't done overnight, and the end result will be better.
Yeah, and in the long run, it ends up making technically a bypass for Jonesboro.
All right, well, we got a call. KLK.
Hi, Kabila.
Hey, Kabila.
Kabila.
Hello.
I had to call in with this one. It was too much to type. I wanted to go back to, well, not go back to, I wanted to introduce a new topic that was in our text list, talking about the Section 8, the reform or whatever's going on in West Helena. And then, okay, if you start pushing people out, say people with criminal records, criminal backgrounds, if you start pushing them out, they're going to eventually concentrate in another area of that town or another town. So then you're essentially creating another problem, because all the criminals will be concentrated or be forced to concentrate in one area. So I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on that. I'm going to hang up and listen.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and give the background on that. Then we're going to actually go to break and talk about it after the break. But I'm going to go ahead and give the background. This was something in our text thread. In Helena, West Helena, which is my hometown, a local resident actually has a solution to the crime. He basically has identified that a lot of the crime in Helena, West Helena is concentrated in a couple of neighborhoods. And in these particular neighborhoods, a majority of the people who live there are actually renting houses. They don't own their houses. So what he was proposing was to put pressure on the landlords to evict them for if they continue to participate in criminal behavior or being a nuisance. And apparently there is a clause if you get a HUD voucher that if you are engaged in criminal activity or you're constantly being cited for being a nuisance, then you can lose that and you could lose those benefits. And what he's arguing is if this were to happen, then these people would be forced out of the neighborhood, which would reduce crime. But Kabila brings up an interesting point. If something like this would be adopted anywhere, these people, once they're forced out, are they going to just recongregate to another part of town? Are you going to end up with a game of whack-a-mole? And so think about that. We're going to get ready to go to break, and we'll answer when we come back. This is Our Thoughts on the Matter. You listen to KLEK on the 2.5 FM.
You're listening to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
People who live in poor neighborhoods generally don't have access to the same resources available in more affluent communities. Fresh, wholesome food is a good example. Research has shown that people in poor communities pay higher prices for a limited selection of food items. They also shop more often in higher-priced grocery and convenience stores where the turnover is slow and food may not be as fresh. Smaller food retailers tend to carry more prepackaged items like luncheon meats and boxed foods that are high in preservatives and salt. People with low funds who want high nutrition should consider joining or starting a food co-op. Co-ops work by allowing a group of families to buy in bulk from farmers or farmers markets. Food is fresh, plentiful, and inexpensive. I'm Alexis Gomer for Black Health Now.
Black Health Now.
Black Health Now is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
The Mu Omicron Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
The Epic Center, located at 1899 Hasbrook Road, County Road 333, is Jonesboro's newest venue for entertainment for the entire family. They offer an auditorium with theater-style seating for up to 1,100 guests, a large stage, professional lighting and sound, dressing rooms, concessions, and more. Available for weddings, concerts, pageants, birthday parties, showers, and more. Booking and other information is available at Epic Center Jonesboro on Facebook, epiccenterjonesboro.com, and at 870-530-5841.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by
Fullness of Joy Ministries, 2120 Thorn Street, Jonesboro, under the direction of Bishop Adrian Rogers and co-pastor Susan Rogers. www.fjministries.org.
And now back to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM with myself, Cato Wonder, and Mrs. Amanda Donovan and Mr. Brad Dow. Before we went to break, Kubila had a topic for us that we talked about in our text thread, which was about a proposed solution to crime in Helena, West Helena, of getting landlords to crack down on tenants who are on Section 8 vouchers that are participating in crime and other nuisance activity, which would in turn force them out of those neighborhoods and help clean those neighborhoods up. And then we brought up the point of, well, once that happens, will these people just go somewhere else and set up shop somewhere else? Does it become a game of whack-a-mole or what eventually happens? So, guys, what are your thoughts?
Well, I am a landlord, and I'll tell you right now, I have 11 rules. And one of my rules is if you get caught with any kind of drug in my place, my home, or any kind of sexual assault, that's another. I'll do a background check before I even. But that's a good thought. You know, where are these people going to go? Are they going to be homeless? Are they going to, gather in one little section of town and it be like a shady town? Nobody wants to go off in there because they're afraid they're going to get shot out the OK Corral, or, but that's just me. I got to protect me and mine because my family actually lives on site. So,
there's a handful of ways to look at it, I personally think, because you will have those landlords or management companies that will accept Section 8 mainly because it is guaranteed money that is coming in, and they could care less about really what goes on as long as they're getting money coming in through the door. But then you also have the landlords and managers out there that they want to make a good livable community for all their tenants. So it's kind of, do you allow it to happen, or do you keep the majority of your tenants happy? So you got to keep that balance. You don't want a criminal element of sorts in, maybe you got a little 10-12 unit apartment complex. Do you want that going on? Because you have to protect everybody, because it's your responsibility then as a landlord and manager.
And of course, in a smaller complex, it does mean more. Like the complex I live in, there's only 7 units. So, but luckily for us, everybody gets along and there's no problems. Right?
I've got 30 units sitting on 12 acres. So.
Right. I mean, I used to manage one that was 12 units, and I had middle-aged ladies, I had college kids that lived there, and we had to look out for everybody. But I think the flip side of this still is, if you don't accept them, where do they go? But I mean, I think at the end of the day, it still comes down to, if they're on Section 8 and they're receiving the federal monies to pay to live, why is it even a discussion? Should they follow the rules of being allowed to get that money? I don't even see why that's a problem.
And I do know.
Well, I think with this issue, it's not them. It's kind of getting back to, well, the landlord's not vetting them. They just, okay, you got a voucher, you can move in, instead of like Amanda did say, well, let's check you out. Like
we did that. We did background checks, everything.
Oh, when you walk into my property, I know when on mine as a landlord, you move a trailer in. I do not own that trailer. You do. That is your home. But I reserve the right to pick and choose who sleeps and who lives on my property. And it's not just for me and mine. It's for, everybody in my park. You can ask anybody that lives there. I treat you like family, and I'm going to protect you like family.
But again, I think that, the question is like, well, if you don't accept them, they're going to go somewhere. And I think that's really, so where does that criminal element just kind of, congregate into one area? I don't know.
And it may ultimately be a thing, like I said, we may ultimately play this game of, I guess for lack of a better term, whack-a-mole. And that's probably going to happen, because like even in the city of Jonesboro, when we have Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott comes, when we talk about crime maps, there'll be hot spots around Jonesboro. JPD will increase patrols. Then that element will go to another part of town, and then JPD will go there, and it's just ongoing.
My question is this: if they move to a certain particular, how bad does that draw off the homeowners? Not the ones who rent, but the people who actually owns their own home. How bad does that hurt their property value?
Probably ask the people that have houses around, for example, the Gladiolas. I mean, that is a very Section 8 HUD-centric apartment complex. Am I right?
I'm not sure.
I think it's the backside, actually, of that.
I'm not sure. I couldn't verify that. I don't have.
I do know that, for landlords and managers accepting Section 8, there are a lot of qualifications that the residents has to meet before they can even be accepting of that. So there's, what am I trying to say? There's things, of course, with electrical, grounded, all those things.
Yeah, the house has to be up to a certain standard.
They have to meet a certain standard. You're right, and
if the tenant causes damage, they are responsible to pay for it, or they will not get a check.
Yeah,
I do know that.
And we actually accepted Section 8 a couple of different times in the unit I managed, and honestly, it was a coin toss of would we get a good person or would we get somebody that just destroyed it. And so
and just to be fair, I mean, there are people who don't get Section 8 who
are some of the world's worst.
Come in and destroy an apartment, don't care for it, keep it up. So there's bad apples across the board.
It's tough going into it, but you have, and that's the other part of being a landlord and a property manager. You have to be extremely unbiased. And
what's good for one is good for all.
Exactly. You cannot have any form of recollection of what's going on. You can't.
See, like it is out there in my park, for example. City code does not allow you to stake the dog outside. Okay, you cannot leave your dog unattended on a stake on a leash. But anyways, make a long story short, my renters can't put them outside in a cage and leave them there. I had a Doberman in which I could not leave outside in his cage if he was outside. I was right there with them on a leash. And like I said, what's good for one is good for all, and you have to be that way. You can't be biased towards anybody because it's not fair that way.
And unfortunately, you do have some of that, because when some people, think Section 8, they automatically think, some people think the worst, and that's not always the case. Sometimes people who, for whatever reason, may find themselves in a situation, and like Brad said, it's very important to, not discriminate and to treat people fairly, and give people the opportunity to do the right thing. We got another comment on our Facebook live stream. Quabila says some people get around the qualifications, such as a guy dating a girl who has a clean record, and then he eventually becomes the problem. Well, Quabila, that's a very good point.
Miss Quabila, that is also the landlord's problem. They should know who and what is in their building or on their property, because you, as a landlord or as a property manager, you are supposed to protect your sheep.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I know when we did them, of course, you were not allowed to have anybody living in your residence that is not on your lease, and that's strictly from a crime aspect, it's from an insurance aspect, and most people don't realize that. But yes, it is the landlord's responsibility, but then again, it comes down to the person that is their name is on that lease, that is also their responsibility. They're letting that element in there as well. So,
and you can also serve them with eviction.
And I had that happen a few different times. I mean, for example, I had a girl that would let her boyfriend come in, and he caused all the problems. You had to have that heart-to-heart of saying, your boyfriend is about to make it to where you have no place to live, and that is your responsibility. So people have to be accountable.
All right, and with that, we got about 2 minutes left. I believe Amanda has a couple of announcements. So,
all right, July the 18th, Miss Norma has requested anybody who is for the JETS program to show up to City Council. It's at 5:30 at the Municipal Center on South Church. Also, July the 20th at 6 o'clock at Parker Park, we will be having NJNI, which is the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative. If you're interested in helping, revive the north side
and then you don't have to live on the north side. No. If you just want to see the city of Jonesboro, especially the north side, be a better place, then please take part in this.
And typically we have a potluck supper, so.
I've also got one too today, going on till 2 o'clock at First Community Bank on Caraway, the company I work for, Continental Utility Solutions. We have taken on Make-A-Wish here in Jonesboro, and we're very, very close to being able to actually sponsor a complete Make-A-Wish grant, and we're doing a car wash up until 2 o'clock.
Well, definitely support that, because I think Make-A-Wish is definitely a good foundation, and I get, I'm a big WWE fan, so I always see how the kids actually John Cena has granted more wishes than any other celebrity in history, over 100. Oh no, it's over 500.
And just to let you know, typically Make-A-Wish, they have a goal for $8,000, and we've raised the majority of it internally. We're maybe 95% of the way, and we're just trying to hit that 8,000 mark. So,
and trust me, the smile on that kid's face makes your donation worth it. Well, I want to thank my panel for stopping by. Hopefully next week we'll have more of our panelists back in the studio, and never know what we may talk about, but we do appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, for listening. May each one of you have a great and blessed day. This is Our Thoughts on the Matter. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Our Thoughts on the Matter on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program offering a